On a brisk March morning in 2024, Belgravia, one of London's most tranquil and affluent neighborhoods, became the scene of total chaos. What started as a routine training exercise for 5 elite cavalry horses quickly spiraled into a wild 2-hour panic. The horses, part of the British Army's household cavalry, were spooked by construction noise, and in a flash, they broke free, galloping riderless through the heart of London. The incident caused injuries to 4 people, extensive property damage, and chaos across several miles of the city, sparking serious concerns about the safety protocols for horses training in urban settings. The madness began during rush hour, as 5 horses, one of them apparently bloodied, bolted from a training session and charged down the streets, past iconic landmarks and through busy intersections. The horses had been participating in a watering order, a standard exercise designed to familiarize them with the bustling urban environment. These horses, known for their role in royal parades, were used to being in the spotlight, but not like this. As they trotted through the posh streets of Belgravia, the sound of falling concrete from nearby construction startled the animals, causing them to panic. 4 riders were thrown from their mounts, and the horses, now fully unrestrained, took off in all directions. The chaos unfolded rapidly, with the horses racing past a London taxi and a double-decker tour bus, smashing the bus's windshield and causing minor injuries to the drivers. A cyclist was knocked off their bike, breaking their arm, while pedestrians suffered cuts and bruises as they scrambled to avoid the rampaging horses. First responders quickly rushed to the scene, tending to the injured and trying to corral the wild animals. At one point, it seemed as though the horses were unstoppable, galloping through busy streets for miles. By the time they were contained and returned to their stables around 10:30 a.m., the damage had already been done. A bloodied horse was seen in the aftermath, sparking concern among onlookers and raising questions about how the incident had unfolded. One cab driver, Robbie, recalled the surreal sight of the horses charging down the street, narrowly avoiding his cab. "I looked in the rearview mirror, and there they were, charging right behind me," he said, adding that one horse was covered in blood. The blood appeared to be from a wound, though it wasn't clear how it had occurred. This bizarre incident shed light on the potential dangers of training horses in urban environments. While the household cavalry's horses are well versed in ceremonial duties, the unpredictable nature of city life posed a unique challenge. Experts suggested that the horses needed more desensitization training to better prepare them for sudden noises, fast-moving vehicles, and crowds. Some even proposed the use of technology, like equine heart rate monitors, to detect stress before it escalates into panic. The cavalry vowed to cover the damages, but the larger question remained: how can the balance between tradition and safety be maintained when training such powerful animals in one of the world's busiest cities? On a chilly January night in 1996, the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City buzzed with excitement. The debut of the Macropolis Case, A Tale of Eternal Life, promised an unforgettable evening. But the audience was about to witness a tragedy so surreal it seemed scripted for the stage. Richard Versal, a 63-year-old tenor with a commanding presence, played Vitek, a minor but pivotal role. Perched 20 feet high on a ladder, he sang the chillingly ironic line, "Too bad you can only live so long." Moments later, he lost his balance and fell to the stage below. At first, the stunned audience clapped, mistaking the fall for part of the show. But as Versale lay motionless, the truth set in. The performance stopped abruptly, and Met General Manager Joseph Volpe evacuated the theater. Versal was rushed to the hospital, where he was tragically pronounced dead. Born in Muskegon, Michigan, on December 3, 1932, Versale's path to opera was anything but conventional. Before finding the spotlight, he served in the Navy, worked as a lab technician and chemical salesman, and studied singing on the side. At 40, he decided to fully pursue opera, moving to Chicago to chase his dream. He made his debut at 45 with the Chicago Lyric Opera, earning acclaim for his powerful tenor voice. Over time, he built a reputation for tackling demanding roles like Verdi's Otello and Wagner's Tristan und Isolde. Though his career flourished internationally, performing at prestigious venues from Vienna to Tokyo, recognition in the US came slowly. Offstage, life was no less challenging. Versala endured a painful divorce and the loss of a child in 1991. Despite these struggles, he remained devoted to his craft and family. In 1988, he remarried and settled in North Carolina with his wife Alexis and their young daughter Tess. In 1995, Versala finally gained recognition at home, earning critical praise for his performance in The Rise and Fall of the City of Mahogany at the Metropolitan Opera. His role in the Macropulis case marked another milestone in his hard-earned career. But fate had other plans. An autopsy revealed Versal suffered a heart attack mid-performance, causing his fatal fall. A Met spokesperson confirmed the latter was secure, making the incident an act of nature, not negligence. Versal's death sent shockwaves through the opera world. In a rare gesture, the Metropolitan Opera canceled the performance and lowered its curtain in mourning. Tributes poured in, celebrating a life marked by resilience and passion. Though his journey ended abruptly, Richard Versala left behind a legacy of perseverance. From his unconventional beginnings to his rise in the opera world, he inspired others with his tenacity. A devoted family man and volunteer at AIDS hospices, his life was as meaningful as it was bittersweet. And yet, the cruel irony of his final performance lingers. Singing, "Too bad you can only live so long," Versal offered a haunting reminder of life's fragility. Perhaps only opera or fate could craft such a poignant exit. Have you ever watched an old-school action flick and thought, man, they really didn't hold back? Well, in the case of the 1969 film Shark, they might have gone way too far. Directed by Samuel Fuller and starring Burt Reynolds, yes, the mustache himself, and Sylvia Pinal, this movie has gained a grim reputation, not for its plot but for a chilling on-set incident that's been the stuff of Hollywood legend. Buckle up, because we're about to dive into the murky waters of this controversial tale. The film follows Kane, a gunrunner, played by Reynolds, stranded in a remote Red Sea port. There, he meets Anna, a scientist, or so he thinks, who ropes him into diving in shark-infested waters under the guise of scientific research. Spoiler alert, she's not exactly working for National Geographic. Turns out, Anna and her partner are treasure hunters looking to loot a sunken ship. Based on Victor Canning's novel, His Bones Are Coral. The movie was shot over 9 weeks in 1967 in Manzanillo, Mexico, which doubled as the Sudanese coast. By 1969, Burt Reynolds was on his way to becoming Hollywood royalty, but even a rising star needed a stunt double for the riskier scenes. Enter 32-year-old Jose Marco, tasked with handling the film's more perilous moments. It was during the filming of an underwater sequence off the coast of Isla Mujeres, Mexico, that things took a shocking and, some say, suspicious turn. Since CGI wasn't an option, unless you count shaky miniatures, the crew decided to use a real, live shark for authenticity. And that's where the story splinters into two versions. In one, the crew had tranquilized a bull shark, but after being hauled ashore and manhandled, the shark wasn't exactly in a zen mood when they returned it to the water. It breached the protective netting and, well, let's just say it wasn't interested in following the script. Another version claims that out of nowhere, a massive, great white shark crashed the party, charging through the net like it owned the place. What followed is straight out of a horror movie. The shark, whether bull, great white, or some other sea beast, allegedly went for Jose Marco. Chaos erupted. Crew members armed with spear guns scrambled to intervene, but it was too late. Marco was attacked in front of horrified onlookers. Though he was reportedly rushed to a hospital, he tragically succumbed to his injuries hours later. Director Samuel Fuller didn't take the incident lightly. He quit the film in disgust when producers chose to exploit Marco's death as a marketing ploy. The film, originally titled Kane, was renamed Shark and advertised as a thriller with real-life danger. Adding fuel to the fire, Life magazine published a series of chilling photos allegedly showing Marco's final moments. But not everyone bought the drama hook, line, and sinker. Enter Dewey Bergman, a journalist from Skindiver magazine. His investigation raised eyebrows and a few red flags. Bergman found zero evidence of Marco's existence, let alone his death. Local Mexican newspapers were silent on the incident, and the hospital named in the story denied ever treating such a case. Suspicious yet, Bergman wasn't done. He noted inconsistencies in the supposed shark attack footage and pointed out that the shark in the scene appeared sedated, or worse, dead. Marine biologist Richard Ellis backed him up, arguing it was highly unlikely for a great white to break through protective netting. Oh, and the blood in those infamous photos? Allegedly just ketchup. Real tragedy or elaborate hoax? The story of Jose Marco remains shrouded in mystery. Either way, it's a chilling reminder of the extreme, and sometimes questionable, lengths filmmakers have gone to for that perfect shot. In Hollywood, danger might be part of the job, but this story takes it to a whole new level. Christopher Reeve, the legendary actor who embodied Superman, became a real-life symbol of resilience after a tragic equestrian accident on May 27, 1995. It happened during a cross-country jumping competition in Culpeper, Virginia, a sport that demands flawless coordination between horse and rider. What should have been a routine jump turned into a life-altering moment. Christopher Reeve's tragic accident seemed to hinge on something as subtle as a shift in weight. The actor and his horse, Eastern Express, were confidently galloping toward a modest 3-foot-high zigzag rail jump, just one of 15 on a 2-mile course. Everything seemed to be clicking. Reeve was in the middle of the leaderboard and excited about his performance. Lisa Reed, a seasoned horse trainer who had known Reeve for a year, watched the ride unfold. The horse was approaching the fence beautifully, she recalls. The rhythm was spot on, Chris was steady, and they had a good pace going. But then, without warning, that perfect harmony between horse and rider fell apart. As Reed described it, the horse's front legs cleared the fence, but its back legs never followed. Chris is a big man, Reed explained. His upper body was already committed to the jump, leaning forward over the horse's head. But the horse, whether it lost confidence or felt his weight, suddenly decided, "I can't do this." It backed off, just as Chris kept moving forward. What happened next was devastating. Reeve's horse, Eastern Express, approached the third jump but abruptly stopped. The sudden halt sent Reeve flying forward. The reins, tangled in his hands, kept him from breaking his fall. Reeve pitched over the horse's neck, striking his head on the rail before tumbling onto the turf. He landed headfirst, fracturing his C1 and C2 vertebrae. By the time Reed and others reached him, Reeve was motionless. "He wasn't breathing, he wasn't moving," said Helmut Bohm, one of the event organizers who vividly recalled the harrowing moment. It felt like the life had gone out of him. The catastrophic injury left him paralyzed from the neck down and reliant on a ventilator. The accident underscored the dangers of equestrian sports, even for seasoned riders. While Reeve wore a helmet, it couldn't prevent the devastating spinal injury, highlighting the limits of safety gear and the unpredictable nature of working with horses. Despite the grim prognosis, Reeve's determination was unwavering. He embraced intense rehabilitation and became an inspiring advocate, founding the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation to push for advancements in spinal cord injury research and better lives for those living with paralysis. His journey also sparked crucial conversations about equestrian safety, including helmet use and understanding horse behavior, leaving a lasting impact on both the equestrian world and the fight for disability rights. Reeve's story isn't just about tragedy, it's about finding purpose and hope in the face of the unimaginable. His journey shone a spotlight on stem cell research, sparking hope for what the future could hold in medical breakthroughs. It was Good Friday, April 6, 2012, in the quaint town of Itararé, São Paulo, Brazil. The community was abuzz with anticipation for their annual Easter play, The Passion of the Christ, a tradition that turned the somber tale of Jesus' final days into a live spectacle. Among the actors was Tiago Klimek, a 27-year-old who took on the daunting role of Judas Iscariot, the infamous disciple who betrayed Jesus and met a grim end. Tiago was no rookie. With 3 years of performing under his belt, he knew the role, the stage, and, most importantly, the safety equipment. A harness, courtesy of the local fire department, was his key to pulling off the dramatic hanging scene without a hitch. Or so everyone thought. The play began, drawing the audience into the story. Tiago waited in the wings, ready for his pivotal moment. As Judas, his role demanded he enact the traitor's remorseful demise by hanging himself from a tree, a scene rehearsed numerous times with precision. When the moment arrived, Tiago climbed a small ladder, attached to the harness, and prepared for his performance. The crowd was transfixed as he jumped, his figure swaying like a pendulum. It was hauntingly convincing. Too convincing, because unbeknownst to the audience, something had gone terribly wrong. The safety vest under his costume had shifted at the worst possible moment. Instead of cushioning his fall, it tightened like a vice around his neck. For 4 agonizing minutes, Tiago struggled to breathe. To the audience and actors, it looked like a masterful portrayal of agony. A few might have even applauded his commitment to realism. It wasn't until fellow actor Janaina Carvalho delivered her scripted lines and Tiago failed to respond that someone sensed the performance had taken a deadly turn. Panic rippled through the cast. Actors rushed to his aid, scrambling for a way to free him. Enter Luis Carlos Rosner, a sandwich vendor who became an unlikely hero, or rather, his knife did. When an actor sprinted to him, pleading for a blade, Luis hesitated for a moment before handing it over. Tiago was quickly cut down and rushed to Santa Casa Hospital, but the damage was already done. Severe oxygen deprivation had caused cerebral anoxia, essentially catastrophic brain damage. Doctors placed Tiago in a medically induced coma, clinging to slim hopes of recovery. For 17 harrowing days, family and friends prayed for a miracle that never came. On April 22, 2012, the life support was turned off and Tiago Klimek was pronounced dead. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the community. What was meant to be a symbolic act of betrayal and redemption had turned into an unimaginable real-life horror. In the wake of Tiago's death, questions swirled. How could this happen? An investigation launched immediately. The harness and rope, both borrowed from the local fire department, were examined at the Instituto de Criminalística in Sorocaba. Lead investigator Jose Victor Bassetti wrestled with theories. Was the knot improperly tied? Did part of Tiago's costume snag on the equipment, triggering the fatal malfunction? The answers were slow to come, buried under layers of confusion, grief, and bureaucracy. But one thing was clear. A community united in faith had experienced a profound and painful loss. Tiago's death turned a theatrical portrayal of sacrifice into a sobering reminder of life's fragile unpredictability. For those who witnessed the play, that Good Friday became unforgettable, but for all the wrong reasons. It was 1978, and A.J. Bakunis was about to cement his place in Hollywood history, or so he thought. Perched atop a 22-story construction site in Lexington, Kentucky, the 27-year-old stunt performer was ready to pull off a record-breaking free fall. With cameras rolling and a crowd gathered below, AJ stood at the edge, determined to prove that gravity had met its match. Then, with one bold step, his story took a devastating turn. Albert John Bakunis Jr. wasn't always a Hollywood daredevil. Once upon a time, he was a gym teacher in Fort Lee, New Jersey. But in 1974, he traded chalkboards for crash mats, diving headfirst into a career as a stuntman. His big break came the following year in a Dog Day afternoon, and before long he was renowned for his fearless, jaw-dropping falls. Tall buildings, helicopters, no problem for A.J. Bakunis. By 1978, Bakunis was rubbing elbows with A-list stars, doubling for Burt Reynolds in Hooper, Zrania, and breaking records left and right. Earlier that year, he'd set a world record with a daring 230-foot fall from a helicopter, only to see it shattered by fellow stuntman Dar Robinson, who bested him with a 286-foot leap. That loss stung, and Bakunis wasn't about to let it slide. He was determined to reclaim his title, come what may. His chance came while working on Steel, a drama about skyscraper construction. Doubling for actor George Kennedy, Bakunis had already nailed a 9-story fall for the film, but that wasn't enough to satisfy him. Hungry for the record, he persuaded the production team to let him go higher, much higher. The new stunt would take him 315 feet above the ground, an altitude that made even seasoned professionals nervous. A doctor on set and an air safety expert both tried to talk him out of it, but AJ wouldn't be swayed. On September 21, 1978, with a crowd of around 1,000, including his father, watching below, Bakunis climbed to the top of the towering concave towers. Standing on the edge, he took a deep breath and leapt, plummeting toward the safety pad at speeds estimated at 115 miles per hour. But as he hit the pad, disaster struck. The airbag, designed for falls just over 100 feet, split under the impact. AJ had attempted to reinforce it with a second pad, but the modifications weren't enough. Critically injured, Bakunis was rushed to the hospital. Tragically, he passed away the next day, just shy of his 28th birthday. In the wake of his death, Steel took on an eerie legacy. When it premiered in 1980, the promotional slogan celebrated the triumph of its fictional construction crew. They reached for an impossible dream and built a miracle. But after the film flopped at the box office, the marketing strategy shifted drastically. Renamed Look Down and Die for its re-release in Los Angeles, the movie was rebranded as a harrowing thriller, complete with grim taglines like, "One slip and you're dead." Audiences who attended this re-release were met with an unsettling surprise. The real footage of Bakunis's fatal fall had been edited into the movie. What was meant to be a tribute to his bravery turned into a macabre marketing ploy that left viewers and critics uneasy. AJ Bakunis's story is one of ambition, courage, and tragedy, a reminder that even the boldest dreams can come with devastating costs. On April 3, 2024, amateur jockey Lauren Keen-Hawkins was thrust into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons after a harrowing accident during a race at Worcester Racecourse in the United Kingdom. What was supposed to be a typical day at the races for Lauren quickly turned into a fight for her life, shining a much-needed spotlight on the dangers of horse racing and sparking a crucial conversation about the sport's safety standards. Lauren, 22, was competing in a handicap hurdle race, riding a horse named Fairy Cutlass for her employer, renowned trainer Kim Bailey. During the race, disaster struck as Lauren's horse misjudged a jump at the third-last hurdle. The mare clipped the obstacle and fell, sending Lauren flying through the air before crashing violently to the ground. Witnesses at the scene described the fall as particularly brutal, especially as Lauren hit her head hard on the turf. Despite wearing her helmet, the impact was severe enough to cause a traumatic head injury, leaving everyone in shock. To make matters worse, Lauren was also struck by another horse while still on the ground, compounding her already dire condition. Medical staff were quick to respond, surrounding her with green screens for privacy as they worked to stabilize her. An air ambulance was initially called to the scene, but was later stood down when it became clear that an ambulance could take her to the hospital. Within moments, Lauren was rushed to the hospital, and her family, as well as the racing community, held their breath. Doctors confirmed that she had suffered a traumatic brain injury and a fractured collarbone. Her condition was critical, and she underwent emergency surgery to relieve pressure on her brain. Lauren's family, deeply grateful for the quick response from emergency teams, knew that her survival was due in no small part to the swift medical attention she received. But the road ahead was far from certain. For several weeks, Lauren remained in critical care, fighting for her life. The accident not only brought Lauren's personal journey to the forefront, but also united the racing community in support of her recovery. Fellow jockeys, trainers, and fans rallied around her, organizing fundraisers to cover her medical expenses and rehabilitation. Social media exploded with messages of encouragement and support for the young jockey, showing just how deeply she was loved in the sport. Lauren's accident also reignited important debates about safety in horse racing. While helmets are standard gear in the sport and have saved many lives, her case highlighted their limitations in preventing serious injuries from high-impact falls. This led to growing calls for the development of stronger, more advanced headgear that can better absorb the force of such falls. The accident also prompted discussions about improving hurdle designs to reduce the risk of missteps during jumps. But the concerns didn't end with physical safety. Lauren's fall reminded everyone of the intense psychological toll the sport takes on its riders. Jockeys face immense pressure to succeed, but they also have to navigate the constant fear of injury. Many in the racing world began calling for better mental health support for riders, both during their careers and after they retire, to help them manage the stress and trauma that come with the job. As Lauren continues her recovery, her story remains a powerful reminder of the risks jockeys face every time they ride, and the need for continued progress in making the sport safer for all. The MGM Grand in Las Vegas was buzzing on June 29, 2013. The audience settled in, brimming with anticipation for Ka, one of Cirque du Soleil's most daring productions. Known for its mind-bending stunts and jaw-dropping choreography, this wasn't your typical night out. It was a spectacle. Among the performers that night was Sarah Gouillard-Guillot, a seasoned acrobat and aerialist with over 2 decades of experience. Hailing from Paris, Sarah wasn't just a star on stage but a dedicated mentor, sharing her craft with aspiring performers. As the final scene approached, the tension ramped up. Performers readied themselves for a dramatic battle on a vertical stage, a sequence that looked as impossible as it was breathtaking. For Sarah, it was just another night of defying gravity, soaring high above the crowd. But this time, something went terribly wrong. Sarah was lifted into the air, her every movement a testament to skill and trust in the safety gear that had always been her invisible co-star. Suddenly, a horrifying snap cut through the music. The wire rope holding her had broken. Sarah plummeted nearly 100 feet into the stage pit, vanishing from view. At first, the audience thought it was part of the show. After all, Cirque du Soleil is known for its audacity. But when Sarah's screams pierced the air and her fellow performers' faces turned from performance-ready to sheer panic, it became heartbreakingly clear that this wasn't scripted. The curtain fell, and an announcement informed the stunned crowd that the show was over. Refunds were offered, but the night had already etched itself into their memories for all the wrong reasons. Sarah was rushed to the hospital, but at 11:43 p.m. the unthinkable was confirmed. She was gone. The tragedy marked Cirque du Soleil's first on-stage fatality in its 30-year history, shaking the company and the entertainment world to their core. In the days that followed, the Nevada Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, launched an investigation. What had gone so catastrophically wrong? The findings painted a grim picture. A combination of insufficient training and faulty equipment had caused the tragedy. The wire rope had snapped because it scraped against a sharp edge during Sarah's rapid ascent. The performance had become a perfect storm of oversight and danger. OSHA didn't hold back, issuing citations and fines totaling over $100,000 between Cirque du Soleil and the MGM Grand. The revelations were devastating. Inadequate training, flawed safety protocols, and a harrowing reminder of the risks in high-stakes performances. Cirque du Soleil suspended Ka immediately, plunging into a company-wide re-evaluation of its safety measures. On July 16th, the show resumed, this time dedicated to Sarah's memory. Her tragic death became a sobering milestone, spurring the company to prioritize safety in ways they hadn't before. Sarah wasn't just a performer, she was a mother of 2, a beloved teacher, and an inspiration to many. At Cirque Fit, the circus fitness program she co-founded, her students mourned her loss deeply. Tributes flooded in, painting a picture of a woman whose passion and kindness had left an indelible mark. Her accident also highlighted the broader dangers of pushing the boundaries in live entertainment. While Cirque du Soleil is renowned for its daring innovation, Sarah's death forced the industry to confront the inherent risks. She wasn't the first casualty. Others had been injured or killed during training sessions or performances in years prior, but her fall underscored the urgent need for vigilance. For Cirque du Soleil, Sarah's passing became a turning point. Safety protocols were overhauled, and lessons learned from her tragedy rippled through the performing arts world. It was a painful reminder that even in the pursuit of brilliance, no one is invincible. Sarah's story is one of talent, dedication, and the ultimate price paid in the name of art. While her death remains a somber chapter in Cirque du Soleil's legacy, it's also a testament to the resilience of a community that refused to let her memory fade. Let us take you back to 2008. Renowned director John Woo, the mastermind behind Hollywood hits like Face Off and Mission Impossible 2, was gearing up for his grand return to Chinese-language cinema. His ambitious project, Red Cliff, a historical epic chronicling the legendary Battle of Red Cliffs in 208 AD. Think larger-than-life naval warfare, political intrigue, and enough drama to make even Game of Thrones jealous. Expectations were through the roof, not just from Wu's fans, but from the Chinese government itself. This wasn't just a movie. It was a cinematic homage to one of China's most iconic historical events. No pressure, right? But like any grand tale, this one wasn't without its share of misfortune. Wu envisioned Red Cliff as a sprawling, two-part epic that would depict the fall of the Han Dynasty and the rise of the Three Kingdoms era. Naturally, this meant colossal battle sequences, jaw-dropping set pieces, and action scenes so intricate they'd make a Marvel movie look like a backyard play. Yet, challenges began piling up even before the cameras started rolling. For starters, casting was a nightmare. Several key actors dropped out, forcing Wu to scramble for last-minute replacements. Then came the logistical headaches. The Yangtze River, a crucial element of the story's authenticity, was off-limits for filming due to government restrictions. Left with no choice, the production had to rely heavily on special effects, an expensive and time-consuming compromise. But Wu, ever the perfectionist, refused to let these obstacles derail his vision. Little did he know, the worst was yet to come. The real tragedy struck during the filming of a climactic naval battle. Picture this: a small boat was scripted to crash into an ancient warship, triggering a controlled blaze. The scene was designed to be intense, dramatic, and breathtakingly realistic. But on that ill-fated day, the flames leaped beyond the crew's control. A sudden, unplanned burst of fire swept across the set, consuming not just the boats, but the entire scene in a matter of moments. What was supposed to be a cinematic spectacle turned into a nightmare. Amid the chaos, 23-year-old stuntman Lu Yangqing found himself trapped, unable to escape the fast-spreading inferno. Emergency crews acted quickly, managing to rescue other injured crew members, but for Lu, there was no way out. Later, investigations pointed to a volatile gas leak as the likely culprit, which had accelerated the fire and sealed Lu's tragic fate. At the time of the incident, John Woo was in Hong Kong promoting the film. When the devastating news reached him, he was reportedly shattered. He immediately rushed back to Beijing to be with his team, visibly shaken and heartbroken. The production issued a heartfelt statement, expressing deep sorrow and promising full support to Lu's family and the injured crew members. But no amount of words could undo what had happened. For Wu and everyone involved, this wasn't just a production mishap. It was an unimaginable loss. Despite the shadow of tragedy, the production of Red Cliff continued. When the film finally premiered, it was hailed as a masterpiece, earning widespread critical acclaim and smashing box office records across Asia. In mainland China, it even toppled the Titanic as the highest-grossing film at the time, a monumental achievement. But for those who had worked on it, the triumph was bittersweet. No matter how celebrated the film became, It carried the weight of 23-year-old Liu Yanking's untimely and heartbreaking death. His sacrifice became an indelible part of the movie's legacy, a reminder of the immense risks taken to bring epic stories to life. On April 30th, 2023, the equestrian community faced an unthinkable tragedy that shook riders and horse lovers across the world. 15-year-old Hannah Serfass, a bright and passionate young equestrian, lost her life in a riding accident at Foxley Farm in Venice, Florida. Hannah wasn't just any rider, she was a rising star, known for her natural talent, dedication, and the deep love she had for her equine partners. This tragic accident, which unfolded during what should have been a routine day of training, serves as a sobering reminder of the risks that come with this beautiful yet unpredictable sport. The day started like many others, with Hannah and her 12-year-old horse, Quacks, participating in a hunter-shot jumper event. The pair was in sync, navigating the course smoothly, their rhythm flawless as they cleared jump after jump. It was just after clearing jump number 5 when things took a tragic turn. As Quacks landed and took a few strides forward, his left front hoof planted awkwardly. The misstep caused him to stumble and lean sharply to one side. Hannah was thrown forward from the saddle, hitting the ground. In a cruel twist of fate, Quacks continued to fall in the same direction, his weight tragically landing on Hannah. The scene was chaotic but filled with swift action. Emergency personnel on site at Foxley Farm rushed to provide Hannah with immediate first aid as Sarasota County Fire Rescue made their way to the farm. She was transported to Sarasota Memorial Hospital's Venice campus, but despite the efforts of first responders and medical teams, Hannah's injuries were too severe. She passed away, leaving her family, friends, and the equestrian world heartbroken. Hannah's story is one of passion and promise. Horses weren't just a hobby for her, they were her life. She grew up around horses, inspired by her older sister's recreational riding. Gymnastics was her first sport, but by the 4th grade, her mother introduced her to the world of horseback riding, a decision that changed Hannah's life. She embraced the sport wholeheartedly, waking up every day at 6:30 a.m. to care for animals on her family's farm in Webster, Florida, before practicing her riding and tackling her homeschool coursework. Despite her young age, her dedication was unmatched. Hannah's talent and drive set her apart. She competed extensively, including the entire 2022 winter circuit at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala. Her coachability and unwavering desire to grow made her a standout rider. "I just got into it and never wanted to stop," Hannah shared in a March 2023 interview. Her bond with horses went beyond competition. She saw them as partners, not just tools, a perspective that endeared her to everyone she met. Hannah's tragic passing has sparked important conversations about safety in equestrian sports. While helmets and gear are vital, her story highlights that no measure can completely eliminate risk. In her honor, her family and fellow riders are working to promote safety, education, and a shared love for horses, ensuring Hannah's legacy lives on in the sport she loved so deeply. It was a warm April evening in 2016 in a small village nestled in West Java, Indonesia. The stage was set, and the crowd gathered to see Irma Bula, a 29-year-old mother of 3 who had carved out a niche in the vibrant yet cutthroat world of dangdut music. Known for her bold performances with live snakes, Irma was more than just a singer. She was an act you wouldn't forget. That night, though, she gave her audience a show that would be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Irma, whose real name was Irmawati, or Anang to her friends and family, wasn't just any dangdut performer. She had climbed her way to local fame thanks to a gimmick both daring and downright dangerous: dancing with live snakes. Not your average pythons with taped mouths, mind you. Irma often shared the spotlight with creatures that could star in a nature documentary's most terrifying moments. That evening, Irma introduced the star of her act, Ranti, an 18-foot king cobra. To put it mildly, king cobras are the stuff of nightmares. They're the world's longest venomous snakes, capable of delivering a bite so deadly that even a medical drama couldn't dramatize it enough. And Ranty? Ranty wasn't defanged or restrained. Nope, she was the real deal, venom loaded and ready for her close-up. As Irma began her performance, the crowd was in awe. The snake slithered around her shoulders while she sang and danced, her voice soaring over the gasps of the audience. She'd done similar stunts before, often with safer snakes, but Ranty wasn't the usual docile python, and this time the stakes, or rather, the snakes, were higher than ever. Midway through the set, Irma's choreography took a fatal misstep. Her foot landed on Ranty's tail. The cobra, understandably offended, struck back with lightning speed, sinking its fangs into Irma's thigh. The audience gasped as Irma froze, the shock of the bite momentarily halting the music. A handler rushed to her side with an antidote, but Irma waved him off. The show, she decided, had to go on. And go on it did, for 45 excruciating minutes. Despite the venom coursing through her bloodstream, Irma kept singing, her voice defiant against the cobra's neurotoxins. But the poison wasn't about to let her steal the spotlight. As she powered through her set, her body began betraying her. She vomited, convulsed, and stumbled, but still, she refused to leave the stage. By the time Irma collapsed, the crowd had fallen silent. The once vibrant performer lay motionless as her crew scrambled to help her. They rushed her to the nearest hospital, but the venom had already done its grim work. Irma was pronounced dead shortly after arrival, her life cut short in the pursuit of a performance. News of Irma's tragic death spread quickly, leaving fans and locals reeling. Adding a layer of heartbreak, her mother revealed that Irma might not have known Ranty was venomous or untaped that night. In her world, snakes weren't just props, they were also her defense. As it turns out, Irma's slithering co-stars weren't just for show. According to reports, she may have used them as a buffer against overzealous audience members. In the male-dominated world of dangdut, female performers often faced harassment during shows. Snakes, it seemed, were her way of drawing a line, though, tragically, it was a line she herself would cross. Irma Booley's story isn't just one of ambition or danger, it's a haunting reminder of the extreme lengths some performers go to captivate their audience. It's also a sobering look at the risks they face, not just from their acts, but from the world around them. That night in West Java, the music didn't just play on, it struck a chord that echoes with equal parts awe and sorrow. In 1986, Hollywood's king of stunts, Dar Robinson, was at the top of his game, literally and figuratively. At just 39 years old, he was a legend in the industry, boasting an unbeatable 13-year streak as a stunt double without so much as a broken bone. Seriously, the man made leaping off skyscrapers look safer than stepping on a Lego. But fate, it seems, had a cruel plot twist in store for this real-life action hero. Dar wasn't just any stunt performer. He was the stunt performer. Over his career, he shattered 21 world records and even invented the decelerator, a device that let stuntmen pull off jaw-dropping high falls without the need for airbag landings. It made action scenes more realistic and, ironically, safer. From Steve McQueen to Clint Eastwood, Robinson worked alongside the biggest stars and delivered some of the most daring feats in film history. His resume sparkled with achievements, like a breathtaking 311-foot freefall from a helicopter and a nerve-wracking plunge off Toronto's CN Tower, which was, at the time, the tallest freestanding structure in the world. All this made him Hollywood's highest-paid stuntman, a title as hard-earned as it sounds. But Dar wasn't just a behind-the-scenes daredevil. He occasionally stepped into the spotlight, most notably in Burt Reynolds' Stick, where he showcased his trusty decelerator in a hotel rooftop fall. Careful planning and precision were his trademarks, qualities that kept him in one piece despite his death-defying profession. Yet, tragically, even the most meticulous preparation couldn't save him from the unexpected. On November 21, 1986, while filming the movie $1 Million Mystery, Dar Robinson's luck finally ran out. He had already nailed the main stunt sequence for the day, so much so that the emergency medical team on set had been dismissed. All that remained was a seemingly straightforward motorcycle run, zipping along a series of turns at 50 mph for a camera shot. Simple, right? Not quite. As Robinson approached a sharp turn near the edge of an embankment, he missed his braking point. Instead of making the turn, his motorcycle veered straight off the path. Within moments, the bike and Dar plunged over the edge. The fall itself was bad, but the landing was catastrophic. He struck a rock ledge, tumbling further down the slope, and was ultimately impaled by a tree branch. It was a devastating accident. Despite a rush to get him medical help, the injuries were too severe, and Dar Robinson died en route to the hospital. Hollywood mourned the loss of one of its brightest talents. In 1988, a documentary titled The Ultimate Stuntman, a tribute to Dar Robinson, was released to honor his incredible career and pioneering contributions to the stunt world. Films like Cyclone and Lethal Weapon, which Robinson worked on before his passing, included tributes in his memory. In fact, the end credits of Lethal Weapon bear a heartfelt message, saluting Robinson as one of the greatest stuntmen the industry had ever seen, a sentiment shared by all who had the privilege of knowing him. Dar left behind not only a grieving family, his wife Linda and sons Troy and Landon, but also a legacy that reshaped the stunt profession. His innovations and fearless artistry continue to inspire generations of stunt performers who still strive to match the high bar he set. During the 2024 Paris Olympics, the equestrian world held its collective breath as one of the most shocking and emotional moments in recent memory unfolded. Henrik von Eckermann, the reigning world #1 in show jumping and a familiar name in the sport, found himself in an unexpected and heart-wrenching situation. Competing in the individual show jumping finals, Henrik was riding his trusted horse, King Edward, a partner he'd worked with for years. The duo had been flawless up until that point, demonstrating the kind of poise and confidence you'd expect from a champion. But in the blink of an eye, things took a dramatic turn. As Henrik approached one of the jumps, something went wrong. King Edward, usually so reliable, hesitated before the jump. Despite Henrik's efforts to keep him on course, the horse ultimately refused the obstacle. The sudden stop caught Henrik off guard, sending him tumbling forward and crashing directly into the jump itself. It was a fall that left everyone in the stadium gasping. Henrik, who had already won Olympic gold in Tokyo 3 years earlier, was one of the favorites to take home another medal in Paris. But after that disastrous moment, his dreams of a second gold came crashing down, literally. In an emotional interview right after the fall, Henrik, who is usually the picture of composure, was visibly shaken, fighting back tears as he explained what had just happened. "This is the worst thing that has happened to me," he said, his voice trembling. The fall was more than just a physical setback, it was a crushing blow to his Olympic aspirations. Henrik had been riding King Edward, a horse known for his small but feisty nature. The BBC's Andy Austin had even described him as little and plucky, a fitting description for the horse's determination. But as the pair faced the 7th jump, things took an unexpected turn. The jump was the first one over water, a tricky obstacle in any competition. King Edward became unsettled, and though Henrik tried to steer him back on track, it was too late. The horse cleared a couple more jumps but then veered off course, suddenly stopping right by an Olympic mascot sign. It was in that moment that Henrik was thrown from the saddle, tumbling to the ground. Miraculously, both Henrik and King Edward emerged unscathed. However, Henrik's emotional reaction made it clear how deeply the fall affected him. He described the incident as a moment of personal failure, saying, "It's a bit unforgivable on my part, but what should I do? I'm the one who makes it up." His words showed just how much he took responsibility for the miscommunication with his horse. When asked if he was in shock, Henrik's response was simple, yet profound. "No, I just feel ashamed that I have the horse I have and I'm not successful." Reflecting on the fall, Henrik admitted that the issue began at the water jump. After a powerful leap, he was already off balance, and when King Edward veered left while he was leaning right, the confusion was inevitable. This misstep triggered the horse's hesitation, leading to the unfortunate refusal and fall. The crowd was stunned as medical teams rushed to the scene. Thankfully, Henrik was able to walk away with only minor bruises, but the fall served as a stark reminder of just how thin the margins are in the world of show jumping. Even for someone of Henrik's caliber, a slight miscommunication with a horse can lead to catastrophic results. Despite the disappointment, Henrik demonstrated incredible resilience and grace in the face of adversity. He expressed deep gratitude for the support of his fans and acknowledged the unpredictable nature of the sport. The fall also sparked important conversations about rider and horse safety in show jumping, particularly the design of obstacles and the mental and physical well-being of both athletes. Henrik's eventual comeback in later competitions only solidified his status as a true champion, not just in skill, but in character, showing the world that even in the face of failure, a true competitor always gets back in the saddle. It was a night like any other on July 13, 2024, in the lively beachside town of Salinopolis, Pará, Brazil. Ayres Sasaki, a 35-year-old rock singer with a heart as big as his talent, was headlining a concert at the Solar Hotel. By day, Ayres was an architect, but by night he rocked stages across Pará, building a loyal fan base since 2017 with his electrifying energy and passion. That night, the crowd packed the venue, buzzing with excitement to see their beloved Ayres perform. But midway through the set, disaster struck. A soaking wet fan, how they got drenched nobody really knows, made their way onto the stage, wrapping Ayres in an enthusiastic bear hug. In that split second, a nearby cable short-circuited, sending a fatal shock to Ayres. The crowd froze in horror, the music stopped, the lights dimmed, and chaos erupted. Despite frantic efforts to save him, Ayres tragically passed away, leaving his fans, friends, and family in a state of complete disbelief. Born in Belém, Ayres had worked tirelessly to make his mark in the music world, even opening for São Paulo's hardcore legends, CPM 22, in 2021. Music wasn't just a career for Ayres, it was his soul. He shared this passion with his wife, Mariana, a nurse who had been his biggest supporter. They had been married for just 11 months, their whirlwind romance captured in bittersweet social media posts. In October 2023, Ayres shared a wedding video with the caption, "Eternity awaits us, my love." Those words, once full of hope, now serve as a heartbreaking reminder of their tragically short time together. The local police quickly launched an investigation, working to untangle the mysterious circumstances surrounding the fan and how they managed to get on stage. The Solar Hotel expressed their deep regret, offering support to Ayres' family, but it felt like a small consolation in the face of such a devastating loss. Ayres' death sent shockwaves through Brazil's music scene. Tributes poured in from friends, fans, and fellow performers. Adriano Frus, a close friend, fondly remembered Ayres' tireless dedication, recalling how he once played for 12 hours straight because the fans simply couldn't get enough. Comedian Nato Almeida spoke of his kindness and unforgettable stage presence, while filmmaker Rafael Masso shared memories of their college days, still struggling to believe Ayres was gone. Though Ayres' life was cut tragically short, his impact endures. His music continues to resonate with fans across Brazil, and his unwavering dedication to his craft remains an inspiration. Ayres Sasaki lived for the music, and though his curtain call came too soon, his melody lingers on, echoing through the hearts of those who knew him. At just 26 years old, Yong Ning was living life on the edge, literally. Known as the Chinese Superman, he became a social media sensation for his jaw-dropping, heart-pounding stunts on the tops of skyscrapers. Wu was a pioneer of roof-topping in China, a trend that saw thrill-seekers dangling from dizzying heights without safety equipment, capturing footage that had viewers gasping and clutching their phones in disbelief. If you thought pulling off a perfect pull-up at the gym was impressive, Wu took it to the extreme, dangling from one hand, balancing on narrow beams, and pulling off mid-air acrobatics at altitudes that made noses bleed. By 2017, Wu had posted over 500 videos of his gravity-defying feats, amassing over 1 million followers who eagerly awaited his next death-defying clip. His videos garnered millions of views, earning him sponsorship deals and even a bit of cash for those jaw-dropping stunts. But Wu wasn't just in it for the fame. His life had a deeper storyline brewing, one that would make his final stunt all the more poignant. On November 8, 2017, Wu set his sights on his next big challenge at the Huanhua Center in Changsha, the capital of China's Hunan province. His plan? To film one of his signature pull-up stunts, a spectacle that would leave his audience breathless. In true Wu style, he free-climbed nearly 20 floors. No ropes, no nets, just sheer nerve and skill. The climb itself was enough to make anyone's palms sweat, but Wu wasn't stopping there. As the camera rolled, he began his performance, showcasing incredible strength and control. However, tragedy struck when he struggled to pull himself back onto the ledge. In a matter of seconds, he lost his grip, plunging roughly 45 feet to a terrace below. The fall was fatal. For weeks, Wu's fans were left in eerie silence, noticing the absence of his usual uploads. Rumors swirled, and soon, confirmation of his death came from his girlfriend, breaking hearts across his massive online following. To add to the tragedy, it was revealed that Wu had taken on this stunt as part of a contest to win money. The reward wasn't just for show. Wu had been planning to propose to his girlfriend the very next day and wanted to help cover medical expenses for his ailing mother. Talk about a modern-day Romeo, only this tale had a gut-wrenchingly sad ending. Amid the grief, Wu's parents were outraged, pointing fingers at the social media platforms that had profited from his dangerous stunts. They argued that these platforms, as commercial entities, had incentivized his risky behavior. Their lawsuit eventually led to a court ruling that held the live-streaming app Huajiao partly responsible, ordering a modest payout of 30,000 yuan, about 4,300 to Wu's family, a small consolation for an immense loss. Yong Ning's tragic story became a wake-up call, prompting Chinese authorities to tighten regulations on live streaming platforms. Yet, despite the heartbreak and headlines, the appetite for daredevil stunts online didn't wane. Wu's legacy lives on as a stark reminder of the fine line between breathtaking bravery and devastating loss.